Judging timer ready?
Ready.
Cinnamon, pepper, turmeric, saffron, cardamom. The list of spices in my mother's kitchen cabinet goes on and on. I know all their names by heart, just from their scents. Each has its own unique, rich, and aromatic flavor, and they have played a tremendous role in the food that I eat. Every morning, I wake up to a delicious blend of aromas and watch as my parents cook my favorite meals. I devour my breakfast in minutes, and I know that my lunch will be just as flavorful. No matter what, I can always count on spices and my parents' master chef level cooking to comfort me. Spices have played such a common role in my life that it's hard to imagine that they were once considered luxury items. So today, let's open our spice jars and learn about their history, health benefits, and finally, season it off with how they impact us today. But first, what are spices? The word spice refers to any dried part of a plant, other than the leaves used for seasoning and flavoring a recipe. The leaves are considered herbs. While spices can certainly pack a punch, they're a lot more than the pepper we use to season scrambled eggs or tomato soup. They have a rich history too. According to the Canadian Spice Company, the Silk Road Spice Merchant, the spice trade began 4,000 years ago in the Middle East, when Arab merchants told stories about the ferocious cynomolgus, or cinnamon bird that made its nest from cinnamon sticks. However, the legendary cynomolgus never existed. It was only a tale told to ward off curious competitors attempting to seek out the spice. For years, the Greeks and Romans believed it. It's incredible that something as trivial as cinnamon was protected with such seriousness. But in ancient and medieval times, spices were among the most valuable items of trade. Spices from China, Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka were originally transported on donkey and camel caravans on the Silk Road, and Arab merchants controlled the spice trade until the 15th century, when European explorers sought to find cheaper ways of importing spices. The demand for spices in Europe was so great that it inspired the voyages of Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus. In 1498, explorer Vasco da Gama made the first sea voyage from Europe around the southern tip of Africa to Asia. His arrival on India's Malabar coast enabled the flow of spices directly to Europe. According to the Journal of the Royal Society of Arts, da Gama returned to Portugal with cargoes of nutmegs, cloves, cinnamon, ginger, and peppercorns. His voyage resulted in a dramatic change to European lifestyles. Meals became more flavorful, pepper was used to preserve meat, cloves and cinnamon were used for cleanliness and ventilation, and pieces of nutmeg were carried around to season food at a moment's notice. Spices also became an indicator of wealth. The elite displayed their collections of spices to symbolize their power and social status. While the early spice trade had many benefits, it also had some consequences. Expeditions for spices led to the exploitation of many native cultures. According to History.com, when Christopher Columbus discovered North America on his quest for spices and other riches from the East, he enslaved many of the indigenous people and treated them with extreme violence and brutality. What started as a simple quest for just a bit of extra flavor led to the colonization of entire continents. In addition, monopolies were formed and people were killed, all in attempts to attain spices. While spices aren't considered luxury items anymore, they are still in high demand today. Spices not only have the power to turn your meal from dull to delicious, but many of them also have a variety of health benefits. Cinnamon is one of them. According to a 2014 study by the National Center for Biotechnology, cinnamon contains multiple antioxidants and lowers cholesterol in the blood, which reduces the risk of heart disease and strokes. Ginger is another spice that is commonly used in household remedies. According to the Center for Disease Control, ginger is useful for relieving mild to moderate cases of nausea. And for people who suffer from motion sickness on long car drives as I do, chewing on ginger candy is a great remedy that is recommended by the CDC. And finally, there's turmeric, my mom's favorite spice. She's always telling me about its various health benefits. Unsurprisingly, she's right about this one, as she is with basically everything else. The Mayo Clinic states that turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, a powerful antioxidant that fights inflammation and reduces the risk of heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. A lot has changed with spices over the centuries, yet they remain household necessities. According to Statista.com, the global spice market is predicted to be worth about $226 billion by 2023. Hundreds of years ago, the spice trade and the Silk Road were what brought our world together. Today, the internet serves not only as our global connector, but also as a source of inspiration for new recipes. I could spend hours